Yo, what's up guys, it's Talon, and today I'm just going to show you a video of me destroying a Vayne top lane because I know everybody likes watching ranged top laners lose. And yeah, I just kind of want to talk about beating ranged top laners during this game, basically. So we're playing Wukong top, we're going Grasp because Grasp is really good on Wukong. And generally Wukong's a really solid pick into ranged top laners, so if you're looking for a good champion to play into ranged tops, Wukong's really good because he has that additional range on his auto attacks when you use your abilities. But yeah, main things you kind of got to understand about range top. So the first thing is, level 1, you don't really want to trade that hard, but if they end up trying to pressure too hard, then you got to go up and pressure them. So notice how when he was sitting in that bush for too long, I still walked to him and pressured him because if I got 1Q, I knew that I would win the trade. But then once he starts pushing the lane evenly like this, I'm just going to let the lane push into me. I'm just going to, maybe Q him or something like that. And then overall, I'm just going to focus on farming and getting towards level 3. Once I'm able to get level 3, I have all my gap closing and I have my escape with my second ability, and so it's a lot more straightforward. And so until then, I'm just going to farm up, try to keep the health roughly even. I have second wind as my one of my runes, so that's a bit easier to sustain as well. And just overall, not much really, to do the first couple levels. And then once I hit my power spike, which again might be different depending on your champion, but oftentimes level 3 is a very common one, I'm going to then start trading a bit more aggressively. So again, now I'm going to be, whenever my third ability is up, I'm going to start actually trading with him since I'm able to do that now. Again, because we have kind of all of our gap closing and our abilities. And now the wave is in a good spot. And so if you can get the wave in this exact spot against a ranged top laner, you're super happy. Because what happens now is I get to build up a slow push where I'm going to have the level advantage. Because I have 6 minions and then he has 6 minions, but his are closer to my side of the map, so I killed him first. I hit level 4, and then what do? I use the fact that I hit level 4 before him to trade extremely, extremely hard on him, and I get him really, really low, and then he still doesn't respect me enough, and so we get the ignite and we kill him. So this is a very common sequence you're going to see. Again, good part about ranged top lane players is they usually suck. Like, this guy is really bad at Wild Rift, and usually a lot of the ranged top laners are very bad. They don't understand these level diffs because they kind of don't have to think as hard, because the lane phase is just so straightforward, so easy. And when players don't understand these concepts I'm teaching you guys, they're just going to let the ranged top laner take all of the space in the lane, get the level diffs, and the ranged top doesn't really have to play properly. And so again, because the enemy comp's very squishy, I end up going for the Youmu's. In hindsight, I should have gone for Serpent's Fang because they have a Seraphine and a Janna and a Kai'Sa, but it's fine. Going for a lethality item because we want to really one-shot the squishy champion early in the Vayne. And so then now that our Amumu's here as well, we're going to look for a potential dive angle, which means that we're going to want to push the wave when we can. So here again, we're going to look for the trade if we can onto the Vayne, and then we're going to get it right here with the Amumu. And then notice how now I start pushing the wave so that the Amumu is going to be able to dive under tower rather than just trying to dive, with no turret or anything like that, or with no wave. And so that's basically exactly what we do. We just immediately ult in, let the Amumu tank, and then we just get the Vayne. We just dive the Vayne. And so this is a very common thing as well, right? You get some type of advantage early, you get your good recall for your boots like I did here, and then if your jungle's in a position to dive, you make sure you set up your wave properly. And pretty much all of what we're doing is just wave management. Again, first couple levels, let him push into us, walk up for last hits / getting the XP, so we're able to still match their level. Then once we hit our certain power spike like level 3 or when we have a level diff, then we go in for the hard trade. We go for the all-in because usually the range top struggles in all-ins. Get some type of advantage off that, crash the wave under the turret, recall for your item, get back, and now that you're a stronger point in the lane, you then crash the wave again whenever you can when your jungle's near, and you just keep trading. And now at this point, I'm so far ahead, and the Vayne is really, really bad, of course, as we've kind of already mentioned, that we're just able to completely dominate them. Anytime that they walk up, I'm just able to trade. Even under tower, I still win the trade. Taking a turret shot. For some reason, Vayne ults here. Don't know why. This Vayne really sucks. As I've mentioned very many times, or a lot of times. I don't know, words are hard. But yeah, then my Orianna randomly gets a triple kill. So shout out to Orianna for the triple kill. And then again, we're just able to go onto the Vayne. We end up flashing out to make sure we don't take too much damage. And now we can just easily kill the Vayne here whenever they show up on us, which is, I think, right now. And then yeah, it looks like Xin Zhao ended up coming. But at this point, it's just too late. We're too strong. Xin Zhao can't really deal with us. Vayne's already dead again, and we're just looking for first tower now at this point. So the important thing to kind of understand though about playing into these ranged top laners is also what to do once you do get a lead, if you do get a lead. So when you have this lead, right, you want to make sure after you push the turret that you're pushing your wave before you rotate most of the time. Obviously here I'm going to recall because I'm low mana. I want to reset for the objective. But then afterwards, got to make sure that I'm going back towards my lane, getting that wave pushed out, and then potentially using the fact that I pushed the lane to rotate and help my team. So we'll skip forward here. We see my Mumu takes it. Again, I push the lane. What do I do after I push the lane? Then I decide I can push one more wave. You know, it looks relatively safe. Vayne ends up letting me get a grass proc on him. And then after this is when we can start looking for a potential roam angle once this wave is fully pushed or something like that. Or again, if we can trade on him, then of course we will. But in this case, again, you see we push the wave. Then we use the fact that that wave is pushing and Vayne's preoccupied to go towards the middle part of the map. Potentially help out our Orianna. See if we can take a turret, get a kill, any of these types of things. Which I do believe we end up getting the turret, or at least part of the turret. Yeah, we end up getting 2 plates out of that. So overall, again, these are the types of things you can do. And then now the wave is pushing back topside. So what do? I go and I decide to respond, right? It's just kind of this constant cycle, which I've spoken about in a lot of my videos. It's true of mid lane. It's true of top lane. Even true in the dual lane, especially if you're the support. Typically, the sequence is you push your own lane. The enemy have to respond to that, and you're roaming / warding / recalling when they're responding. And then once you have to respond again, you go back to the wave. You push the wave. And then you do the same thing. You go and you ward, or you recall, or you roam. Now in this case, I have 1,600 gold to spend, so what am I going to do? I'm going to recall, right? Whereas before, I didn't have a lot of gold to spend, I was really strong, so I roamed. So it's kind of these different things, right? And then because the wave is already pushing, I decide to buy TP and dive bot side. I know that I have a timer where I can make a play on bot side because, again, the Vayne is stuck doing basically nothing. Like, pay attention to Vayne on the map right now. You can kind of see basically being useless, not actually doing anything. Meanwhile, I'm able to rotate with that TP purchase, get a double kill on the bottom side of the map, and we've still lost nothing in the top side at this point. You can see I'm literally going to get to recall, and I'm going to go back to top side, and what did Vayne get? Absolutely nothing. Meanwhile, I got a double kill because I pushed a wave before I make the play. Now imagine I didn't push that wave and I went and made that play. All of a sudden, Vayne's going to get back into the game because they're going to get a turret, they're going to get multiple waves, and I'm not going to be nearly as happy, right? So it's always about minimizing the amount of loss that you have, while also obviously trying to maximize, you know, the value from each play that you make. So each time that I am making a play, I'm trying to make sure there's a high likelihood of it working out. And then here, Vayne just decides to ult, because I don't know, like, this Vayne really doesn't know what they're doing, right? So, and keep in mind, this is like a master, grandmaster, probably Vayne. I don't know their rank, but I assume they're master or grandmaster. And so, like, the things I'm doing work against relatively high elo players. I mean, like, to be honest, I don't really consider grandmaster players super high, but, like, the average viewer, I would say, would probably consider grandmaster a decently high rank. And so these types of things work against a lot of these different ranks of players. Don't get me wrong, it's not going to work against every single player. There are going to be diamond players who play better than this Vayne. But it isn't something that works, you know, frequently, and so it's just something I want to kind of point out as well. And then the Vayne decides to fight me, but the Vayne is, you know, kind of an interesting individual, so it ends up not really mattering. At this point, we're so far ahead that the main kind of goal is just not to throw, right? We've already gotten the top turret, the bot turret's really, really low, mid turret's really low. We just got to make sure that we go towards fights. Help our team out in fights, you know, don't really throw, don't be too over aggressive, but still manage to snowball our lead. Additionally, an important thing to understand into these ranged top laners is itemization. Oftentimes, if there are an AD carry top, they probably also have an AD carry bot, and so oftentimes items like Randuin's, if they have multiple crit, or Frozen Heart, if they have a lot of auto attackers, are going to be really good. Like in this case, they have Vayne, who's a really good auto attacker. Kai'Sa autos, Xin autos a lot. And so they have a bunch of auto attacking AD champions, so I can build Frozen Heart third item and get a bunch of value out of it. Now notice in this case, I don't rotate topside even though the wave is pushing. And you might be wondering why. The main reason is that Vayne is so far out of the game that I don't care about Vayne getting one turret. To me, it's now more valuable to get this dragon and snowball my lead further by pressuring other parts of the map. Vayne doesn't push very quickly, and I know that we can guarantee this objective and this fight win if I'm here. So I decide that that's more important in this case. Now, say that the Vayne was a champion who pushes turrets really fast, I probably wouldn't have done that, right? Because in that case, we would lose multiple turrets and it wouldn't be worth it. But in this case, I deem that it would be worth it to leave the Vayne on the turret. Now, my Orianna actually responded, so it didn't even, you know, wasn't even a problem there. But at most, Vayne would have gotten one turret. And again, in this case, I thought, well, we get the dragon, probably get a good fight win. All of these things are more important to me. And again, now we're able to one-shot the Seraphine there and pressure the mid lane, because again, we want to spread our lead to as many parts of the map as possible, which means in this case, going for the mid turret now, which is exactly what we do. And yeah, pretty straightforward. Now we get to recall. We have our third item. Overall in a very strong spot. And now I go bot side. Why do I go bot side? Because the next objective spawning is the Baron. And as a Baron laner, you want to go on the opposite side of whichever objective is spawning, push out that lane, and then start to rotate. The reason for this is because you want to drop pressure on the opposite side of the map so that the enemy can't all just group around one objective. You'd rather draw them to different parts of the map than use the fact that you push the lane first to then rotate, create numbers advantages on the strong side of the map, which in this case, again, would be the Baron. So here, I end up getting kind of greedy, honestly, going for this. That was probably not very smart of me, but it worked. So we'll take it. But yeah, I want my team spending their time on the Baron because that's, you know, where the key objective is. That's where my jungler would be. And then I want to, again, draw people here. I have the teleport in this case as well, so it's even more, you know, beneficial for me to be on this side. But even if I didn't have teleport, I'd still want to do a pretty similar thing most of the time. And keep in mind, it doesn't always mean that you're going to stay on the bottom side or on the opposite side of the objective. All I mean is that you need to push that first. So you push the wave on the opposite side, then you can rotate. That's perfectly fine. And there's going to be cases where sometimes your team ends up being on the opposite side and you have to go same side of the objective, and that's going to happen sometimes, and that's totally okay. And then in this case, you're going to see my team make a big mistake in a minute, and that is flipping an objective when they're really ahead. So what flipping an objective means is basically doing an objective when the enemy jungle is still alive, and there's a chance that they could steal it because they'll have vision and everything, which is what my team does, and then you're going to see Xin Zhao steals it. And so when you're ahead in the game, there's no reason to make these unnecessarily risky plays of flipping an objective like this and potentially losing the game off of losing the Baron, because we're probably going to win the game if the game just continues to progress in the way that it's been progressing, because we're ahead so much and we're so strong. But the one way we could lose is if the enemy does get some type of Baron like this through a steal. And so a lot of people do this, but you only really want to be flipping these objectives when the enemy are ahead and you don't really have much to lose. Like, all we did was we killed a Vayne and then we thought we could do it. The Vayne is useless, right? Like, the Vayne is like 0-6 at this point or something. No gold, basically useless champion. Killing Vayne doesn't actually really mean anything to us. If we had killed their jungler, then it'd make way more sense, right? Or if we kill like a super fed member of their team and we want to force a fight off the Baron, then yes, that would make sense. But that's not what happened, obviously, in this case. And so now we're just trying to stall out the Baron by pushing out the side lane waves so that they can't get too much value out of this. We don't want them getting a turret or anything. We have to end up using our ult to run away and then our flash, which I'm perfectly fine with using those spells to end up stalling the game. Because again, I just don't want to lose too many turrets. Even if I have to waste my flash or my ultimate, that's fine if it means the enemy aren't going to pressure our turrets this hard. So I'm totally fine with this trade in this case. It's not like there's a key objective spawning soon. All that's happening is dragon spawning soon. There's no elder. There's no Baron spawning, so I'm like totally fine with losing my flash. And then I'm going to recall, and then now I'm going to go push out another wave. Make sure the enemy don't get much out of this Baron, and they really didn't get that much. So it's not the end of the world that we lost that. It could have been really tragic if, say, like a couple members died right after, right? But it ended up not being too bad. And so at this point, again, now we're rotating towards the objective, mostly because we want to stop a throw from our team. We don't actually care about this objective because each team has a dragon. The only reason that I am here is because I don't want my team randomly dying, because that could potentially lose us the game. So in this case, I just decide that I should be here, right? So that's kind of an important thing to understand. Is like in these later parts of the game, a lot of these key objective fights, if you don't go, your teammates might just end up inting. And then so now that I see Kai'Sa here, I'm like, okay, now I'll go topside, because now I know someone on the enemy team's not there. I can respond to that, and I'm going to be perfectly fine. We lose one turret, not the end of the world, and then I can just go here and try to defend it from them, right? So that they don't get extra turrets or anything like that. So being aware of the fact that the enemy might go on the opposite side to try to come back through gold, while still hovering to make sure my teammates don't necessarily int. And then unfortunately I kind of inted here by walking up just too far for a ward. Got pretty greedy, ended up dying. Not a good death by me. At least there's no objective up, so it's not the end of the world, right? Like there's no elder, no baron once again, as I kind of mentioned. So at least not the end of the world, but a dumb death nonetheless. That we got punished for, but our team does well on the opposite side because again there are 3 people top on the enemy team, so our team has the numbers advantage and ends up getting the inhib because we are pretty ahead. And then we'll just skip forward towards when I respawn again. Once again, where do you see me going? Opposite side of the objective because I have the teleport. The lane's already pushing, so in this case I actually could have gone mid if I wanted, The reason that I go to the side is because I have teleport. But say I didn't have teleport, then it'd probably make sense to end up just going into the mid lane first, since the wave was already pushing. And then here, Vayne ends up trying to fight us for some reason because he's a silly goose. And our team ends up doing a really good job on the other side of the map. And we end the game. So pretty straightforward. Just wanted to show you guys me beating a ranged top because that's always fun, right? Who doesn't like seeing that? And, you know, share with you guys some of the macro kind of decisions that we did to make this game a pretty smooth snowball, apart from that one Baron steal the enemy got. But yeah, Wukong top overall really, really strong as well. So thought that'd be interesting to share with you guys as well. But yeah, I'll see you later, and I hope you enjoyed the video.